One of the greatest tricks that companies ever played on us was convincing us to make all of our coworkers the core of our social circle. I love my coworkers. I love hanging out with them. I love work offsites. When I used to work in an office, I loved doing team lunches and all of that. I am very concerned about the dependency we have on work for our friendships. A big trick that companies play is trying to convince us to think of work as family. That is, to me, a manipulation tactic, because if the company says like, oh, here we're all family, and then they need you to work a weekend, they're like, come on, you do it for your family. And then when you need them to give you a day off because you got to go do something important, they're like, absolutely not. It's against policy, right? Because you're not family. You're an employee. And if they ever see that they don't find value in you, they will lay you off or fire you immediately because you're not family. When they structure work so that you show up early and you go home late, your coworkers become your only social circle. And it's good to be friends with your coworkers. It is bad if your coworkers are the only other human beings you ever see in your life. The reason that companies like this is because it makes it harder for you to leave. If all of your friends are your coworkers and the only people that you spend time with are coworkers, and you start thinking about leaving your job, you're not just thinking about leaving your job, you're thinking about leaving all of your friends behind. You're leaving your social circle. And it leaves this giant hole in your life that shouldn't be there. And so to me, finding a way to socialize outside of work is such a critical thing. It's not just work-life balance. That's not the point. It's like when they talk about portfolios, they always say diversify, right? You don't go all in on one thing because it exposes you to too much risk. And it's the same thing with your life. If you rely on one company for your income, your benefits, your socializing, your every part of your life except your sleep, that's high risk, because that way they can blow your whole life up instantly. You get laid off and you're not going to see your coworkers every day anymore. Maybe a few of them are friends forever. And I definitely have really, really close friends from previous jobs. But the vast majority of people that I've worked with are people that if I saw them at a conference or if we worked together at the same company, I would be so stoked and I would love to hang out with them and get dinner and catch up. But we're not friends, right? We're like, the friendship is situational. The friendship is that we like each other as people and we want to spend time when we're around each other, but neither of us feels so strongly about the other that we will actively seek each other's company outside of a chance meeting or in the case of work, a scheduled meeting. That to me is the really scary part when I see folks, and I've done this, where my entire life becomes my job. I am friends with my coworkers only. I don't have anything else. None of my activities are outside of work. I only go to work happy hours, work lunches, work, weekends and retreats. Everything else is just me like sleeping. Right. And when I've left those jobs, I have felt horribly lonely because it wasn't just the job that ended. It was everything. It was all of my socializing. It was all of my scheduled activities. It was the people that I saw every day were suddenly gone and it feels like the friendship ended, even though it didn't. How many meetings can you have in a day before it's like not fun, right? If socializing exclusively at work is bad, it points to a need for us to find a way to socialize that doesn't depend on our jobs. Like, do I have a circle of friends that if my company folds tomorrow, I still have those friends? And it took me a really long time to build this. And one of the hardest things is forming meaningful relationships as adults. But I actually don't think that the difficult part is that people don't want to be friends. And I think that's what the default suspicion is that people will think to themselves, oh, well, nobody wants to be friends. What I actually think it is that nobody knows where to go to make friends. Because if you are at school, you make friends because you're forced to go to school with the same group of people and you are situationally bound to each other until you become friends. If you are working, you are situationally bound to a group of people that you work with and they become your friends. Not because you were seeking to become friends, but because spending time with people lets you find commonalities and things that you want to, share and talk about, and that leads to friendship. If you want to have a social group outside of work, it points to needing to go places that aren't work related. So look for a happy hour. If there's not a happy hour, maybe throw one. I do a thing called Food with Friends here in Portland every once in a while, we send up the bat signal and we say, hey, we're going to be at this place. It's got a patio. I'm going to hang out there. Everybody's welcome. And some friends show up. People I don't know very well show up, and I make friends, right? And there's some folks that I've kept in touch with for years that I met through randomly tweeting about, I'm going to be at this brewery at this time. If anybody in Portland wants to hang out, like little connections that lead to more connections. And you end up with a group of friends that you can rely on, and they don't even know what you do for work. A lot of my closest friends have literally no understanding of what my job is. And to be fair, like my job is weird, but that type of connection that's not bound to work, that's the type of connection that gives you resilience against big life changes, because you can survive leaving your job if your social group stays intact or mostly intact. And a lot of my social group, and I need to be clear about this, my social group grows as I get different jobs and work with different people, because I find people that I want to stay connected to forever. You know, Sarah Drasner's a good example. I didn't know her well. I knew her professionally. We worked together at Netlify, and we've been really close ever since. She's one of my favorite people in the entire world. And we'll stay friends for, I don't know, I hope the rest of our lives. That started as a work relationship, and it has grown into a friendship. I think that as human beings, putting all of our eggs in a basket for, you know, our work, our benefits, our social life, our friendships, that is too much dependence on one entity that ultimately has no loyalty to us. You know, again, if a company decides that we're not useful, we're gone. And they won't feel bad about it. They'll say it's just business. Instead of trying to, I don't know, work late, work weekends, I want to spend that extra time trying to find my people outside of work so that I've got that resilience of, you know, a support network. So much of human success is when they do research, it comes down to how strong your support network is. And I guess that's what I mean is like a work-based support network is like a house of cards, because if you lose the work, all of the structural integrity of that support network fades away. If your support network is built outside of work, if it's built on relationships and mutual interests and time spent together, then it's sturdy. It's built on a foundation that's going to last a job change, right? And to me, that is hard work, but it's work that's very worth doing. It's not like I have to go and ask a bunch of people if they want to be friends. It's more that you have to put yourself in situations where friendships can occur. And a lot of times that means finding a way to put yourself in a situation with a group of people that's not coworkers a few times. Because the first time you meet anybody, no, everybody feels weird being like, hey, do you want to be friends? But if you're in a meetup that's around, I don't know, like a smash burger tasting club, or Marissa goes to a thing that they ride their bikes to a coffee shop somewhere in Portland and hang out there for a little bit. And she's made friends that way, right? Made connections. And those people start as acquaintances. They start as people who go to the same club. 3-4 meetups later, hey, well, you know what? You seem really cool. Do you want to get dinner sometime? And then you meet them and their significant other. And then suddenly you've got friends and you're hanging out with them, right? It is hard work. It's a job. Like it is definitely challenging to go out and build these friendships, but it is a repeatable process because we've done it multiple times in our relationships. And I really do think that it's, to me at least, building that network has been so critical to my own mental health as I've made big changes and taken some pretty huge risks in my work life. If I was not only risking my livelihood, but risking my entire social network, I would not have been able to take some of the chances that I have taken without that network. So go make friends, not work friends. Some work friends, mostly not work friends.